Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to 50 people telling us their state's biggest rival state. Now, I didn't know that this happened, that, states had rival states. I mean, here in England, we don't really have rival cities. I suppose London's might be Manchester, but we don't really think of it as a rival city. There's just a bit of sort of banter that flies in between. It's probably similar to what's happening in America, to be fair. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm trying to think, who would Florida's rival state be? Florida? Maybe California?
We love Mississippi and Louisiana, and let me tell you why. If it wasn't for Mississippi, we'd be last in everything. God bless them.
Snap. Snap.
Pennsylvania has a huge rivalry with West Virginia. Pennsylvania doesn't like them. They're like, West Virginia, ew, no thank you.
In some parts of West Virginia, they'll tell you that if you cross the river into Kentucky, that they'll eat you and your babies.
Oh my
Kentucky
God.
has a pretty big rivalry with Indiana because it's literally right across the river from Indiana.
They're just two opposing sports teams and right next to each other.
Michigan's biggest rival is Ohio.
Mostly for football, I'd say, is probably the big one.
It all comes down
College football.
to who you like in football.
When it comes to like Alabama, you don't want to go there.
Alabama has a rivalry with pretty much every state that loses to us.
I would have thought her accent would be a lot more southern. I thought Alabama's had a real southern accent. She doesn't really have one.
Gross, get out. Everyone hates Alabama. It's a football thing, but also just like, ugh.
Florida definitely has a rivalry with Georgia.
Everyone calls Florida the
Georgia.
South, but it's not really South. It's just northern transplants that have no southern accent at all. So sorry, Florida, you don't really count as a southern state to me.
New Mexico's biggest rival is probably Texas.
Texas.
People think that Oklahoma is comparable to Texas.
There's just so much more to do in Texas.
Texans like to think they're, the biggest state. Alaska is the biggest state. Texas is our little sister.
Nebraska's biggest rival is Colorado. They're like our cooler younger brother to the left.
People in Colorado have a rivalry with people from California.
I mean, a lot of people try and compare California to Arizona, but it's not really fair because
Yeah, California and Arizona makes sense because they're both quite hot, aren't they? Quite warm.
California has all these beaches.
Las Vegas is 4 hours from Los Angeles. So you have party and then party right next door in LA. And of course, Nevada wants some of that action.
California has a rivalry with no one. I think California has a rivalry with itself.
Portland, Oregon often takes credit for all Portland. It gets a little disheartening when people are like, oh, I'm going to Portland. And I'm like, you're going to Maine? And they're like, no, I'm going to Oregon.
They do have very good beer in Oregon. We don't like Washington. Like, they gave us grunge, but they also gave us Macklemore.
Oh,
Missouri.
snap. Macklemore catching strays over here.
Has a natural rivalry with the state of Kansas because the Missouri River divides us. You'll get people that'll say, oh, I'm a Missourian, or I don't live on the Kansas side, I live on the Missouri side.
Whenever I say, oh, I'm from Maryland, they're like, oh yeah, you're from DC. I was like, no, I'm from Maryland.
New Hampshire has a rivalry with Vermont, mainly because they have like the same exact shape of us, but they're upside down and we're right next to each other.
People from Vermont go there to buy tax-free groceries.
But they don't have the beach.
Florida also.
Tax-free groceries. In New Hampshire, you can buy groceries without any sales tax. Ah.
People tend to favor the beaches there instead of beaches in South Carolina when they should really come to South Carolina.
I think Virginia
South
has a
Carolina.
rivalry with North Carolina.
South Carolina. The rivalry stems from purely just being called the same thing and wanting to be the better of the two.
Yeah,
North Dakota definitely has a rivalry with South Dakota.
People forget that I'm from South Dakota and they say, oh, North Dakota? And I'm like, no, I'm from South Dakota. It's the superior of the Dakotas.
When I was growing up, we used to tell North Dakotan jokes. And then I met someone from North Dakota and they tell Montanan jokes.
Wyoming's biggest rivalry would probably be...
I've not really heard many strong accents in this video. I was expecting there to be a lot of variation. I'm sure maybe any Americans watching this probably could detect the accents more. but especially in the southern states, I was expecting to hear a lot more southern drawls, you know?
Montana, just because Montana also has a lot of beautiful views.
I don't know if we have a rivalry with any states. I feel like we'd be too polite.
I don't think we have a true rivalry of states with anybody.
The biggest rivalry in Idaho is between southern and northern Idaho.
If you're from Hawaii, we're for you. If you're not, too bad.
Delaware probably has a rivalry with New Jersey.
Delaware or Rhode Island.
We're always kind of like Massachusetts' little brother.
We're the best, sorry. The biggest rival would be New York because you can go from New Jersey to New York and not even go over the water.
But New York is tops. I think it's probably the best city in the world.
Illinois has a rivalry with Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. It's either the Packers versus the Vikings or Packers versus the Bears.
But we can both honestly agree that Wisconsin and Illinois hate Iowa.
You can tell, like, when they're driving on the road that they think that they're better than us and that they have bigger cities and that we are just backwoods, but they got it all wrong.
I mean, it seems like it's mainly a geography thing. The state that's kind of closest, it tends to be the biggest rival, which kind of makes sense. Proximity. Okay, let's see. Let's see them try and find their states on the map. Let's see if they're able to do that.
Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. I can name other ones, but I feel like up here it gets like a little squishy for me. The middle is not great.
Just get this right.
Feel like I am in school again.
This is adorable.
Let me do it this way, because boop, we're the mitten.
Wisconsin, we call it the left. No, sorry.
Is it true people from Wisconsin pronounce it as Sconsin? The "wi" part is completely ignored.
We call it the right mitt.
This is not a map of the U.S. You should have Alaska up here.
Ah.
Why is that here?
Nevada is right here.
South Carolina is right here.
North Carolina is right here.
So Montana is this beautiful big sky country right here. It borders Canada.
Is that Montana right here? This whole thing right here? Montana is huge. Montana is like the second biggest state apart from Texas, no? Is this proportionally correct? By the way, I've just realized the USA kind of looks a bit like a steak, doesn't it? Kind of looks a bit like a steak.
And it is the fourth largest state in the nation.
Vermont is this tiny little state up in the corner right underneath Canada.
Indiana is right here.
New Hampshire's this little guy right here. Hopefully I'm not pointing to Massachusetts.
Can I find Massachusetts? I really hope so. I'm fairly certain we are right here.
North Dakota's right here.
South Dakota is right here.
Maine is right up here, way up in the corner.
So Washington is right there, and it's not to be confused with DC.
He sounds just like Chris Pratt, doesn't he?
Because when you're from Washington State, everyone always goes, "Oh, Washington, yeah, I love DC. The cherry blossoms, it's great." Like, no, we're in a state. This guy right here.
Connecticut is right here.
This is Pennsylvania.
I thought this was New York, y'all. So hey, I don't know where I'm standing right now.
Ohio is right there.
Idaho is right here in the Pacific Northwest. Contrary to popular belief that it is over here next to Iowa and Illinois.
This is Illinois.
Iowa is here.
Oregon is right here, above California.
I'm from California. California is the West Coast. It's the best coast.
He does look like he's from California, doesn't he? The fashion, the laid-back sort of style.
Although the East Coast is pretty good too.
This is Georgia.
Florida is right over here.
Georgia is much better than Florida. We get a lot of athletes from Georgia. I'm not sure who they are, but go Braves.
This is Oklahoma. We have Kansas to the north and Texas to the south.
Texas is right here. You'd have to be pretty blind to miss it.
Oh, I love that accent. Proper, like, southern accent. I need to hear that again. Super strong accent.
Texas is right here. You'd have to be pretty blind to miss it. Kansas, smack dab in the middle. The centermost state, right here. This is Nebraska.
Right in the
Most
middle.
people don't know. For y'all who don't know where Arkansas is, It's right here, above Louisiana, to the right
Arkansas.
of Texas.
Arizona is right here.
There is Utah.
New Mexico is right here.
That's Colorado. Those should, oh no, it's not. That's Colorado. So those should all meet in the four corners, right? That's Colorado.
Wyoming is that square right there.
Wow.
Tennessee
perfectly
is
square.
right here.
Kentucky's right here.
Minnesota is right at the top.
They're nailing it. I mean, they're doing pretty good. I mean, I suppose you would expect them to know this, but only one person so far. I mean, two. New York and, was it Connecticut? No.
The top here. This is Louisiana, this like beautiful boot shape.
Mississippi is right here.
Alabama will be right here on this map. It's the correct formation. See, Mississippi is backwards. Alabama's correct. New Jersey is right here.
Wow, New Jersey's tiny.
You guys cut me off.
Delaware is right there. Little itty bitty thing right over there.
Rhode Island is right here. Literally, I'm gonna cover it with the pointer.
Maryland is... Where are you, Maryland?
West Virginia is located right here.
Virginia is right there.
I think this is Maryland. Yeah, it's Maryland. It's Maryland. Oh gosh, I'm such a bad Maryland.
3 wrong.
Missouri is right here. You will see it is surrounded by several states. Actually, Missouri is bordered by the most states of all the states in the Union. I think it's 7. Oh God, 1, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8. There are 8.
8? That's quite a lot.
States that border Missouri.
Ah. Interesting. Huh. So it seems like Missouri would be the place to go to if you wanted to visit as many states as you could in one trip. 8 surrounding states. That's quite a lot, to be fair. And the biggest rivals one, yeah, I mean, it's to be expected that the city next door kind of makes sense to be the biggest rival. I'm trying to think, were there any ones that had a rival that were across the country? Not that I can recall. Do you guys agree, by the way, with the biggest rival picks? Would you pick a separate state? Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy my videos, please help me out by liking and subscribing.